Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. I am sure you all might have seen this 105 million reparation package for Tulsa race massacre unveiled by the mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? Some people are not finding it funny. A lot of people are very excited. Some are saying this is one of those cabs and all that. And these people think that what is the need to start paying reparations when there are people that are going hungry and all that. This has always been one of their talks. It is not new. So I am actually used to it. And the fact that some people think it's okay to tell black people how to, maybe like, how they were already asking how will black people spend the money. And like, there are so many homeless people out there that deserve the money. You already be wilding. Because the fact that we are still talking about reparations till today shows that you all do not have common sense. Because reparation is something that should have been paid way long time ago. And for those that are very much concerned about reparations and what black people are going to do with the money, you are just a jealous person. Quit asking people what they will do with the money. Some of you will go and do drugs and all that. Those stereotype and the rest of it. You are really crazy, because I do not see you people telling people that went through Holocaust and all that how to spend their money when they were paid reparations. It is only when it comes to black people you all will have opinion. Let's get into this.
To reporting by Blavity.com. Monroe Nichols, who is the black mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, has proposed an initiative where he wants to raise $105 million in private funds to put into a trust by June of next year in order to redevelop Black Wall Street, aka the Greenwood District in Tulsa, as part of reparations for the Tulsa Race Massacre. Read between the lines, you all. That is not reparations. What he is proposing is gentrification cosplaying as reparations. This is a slick PR move meant to burnish the tarnished image of Tulsa and the state of Oklahoma. Because remember, the Oklahoma Supreme Court denied restorative justice to the remaining surviving victims of the Tulsa massacre. And I think there were 3, and now there's only 1 left. And Tulsa knows this. Oklahomans know this. This is meant to placate the black community. But trust, this isn't going to benefit the black community. Again, this is a PR move. It is gentrification. In this trust fund that they want to establish, they want to raise $105 million in private funds by next year, because next year would be the 105th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. And they're talking about there would be no direct cash payments to the descendants of the victims. That's the first and main red flag. Second, they're talking about a portion of the funds will go to educational scholarships and loans to small businesses. Another portion would go to a housing fund, and then the rest of the funds would go to cultural preservation of the Greenwood District in Tulsa. That's not reparations. I agree with Nicole Hannah-Jones. She's the journalist who created the 1619 Project. Reparations are direct cash payments to the descendants of the enslaved by the federal government and some state governments. That's reparations. When you hear talk about reparations and you listen to what the critics have to say, you will feel the racism radiating off of them. That's why there's not much talk about reparations now. Every so often it bubbles up, but then it's quiet. Why? Because this nation is anti-black. And so the very idea of black people receiving anything of benefit collectively, this nation will work against it and will not do it. If you want to see certain people's buttholes clenched tighter than a vice, and they turn beet red, mention reparations in the form of direct cash payment to black Americans for the crime of chattel slavery and everything that came after. But notice other groups don't have this problem or this issue. Germany paid direct financial compensation to the Jewish victims of the Holocaust and their descendants. And also, whenever they could, they returned property that was stolen from them. During World War II, when Japanese Americans were interned in this country, after the war, they also received direct financial compensation. Indigenous tribes here in this nation also received direct financial compensation. But when it comes to black folk, it's a problem. How could the government do that? That would be too expensive. That's just not feasible to provide direct cash payment to every descendant of enslaved Africans. Who would pay for that? How would we raise the money? Remember that racism I told you about? The pandemic proved that our federal government can print money when it wants to. Not only that, take about a third of the bloated defense budget away. And also, how about have the IRS actually enforce the tax code, close loopholes, and make wealthy individuals and corporations pay their fair share of taxes? Done. And ultimately, what it comes down to is the anti-black, racist, and patriarchal attitude and stance of this nation. I have actually heard critics say, if black people received direct financial reparations, they wouldn't know how to spend it. They would spend it on frivolities and luxury items and drugs. Remember that racism? And here's the thing. We're grown-ass people. Pay us what is due us, and it is nobody's fucking business what we do with the money. If I choose to buy a huge vat of ketchup and take a deep dive, that's my business. But again, there's that patriarchy and that racism. All of it works hand in hand. Read between the lines, you all. According
Y'all, we did it. Tulsa just created a $105 million reparations plan for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. For 104 years, my community fought for justice and kept getting denied. We filed insurance claims, we went to court, we testified before Congress, we commissioned reports. Every time the answer was the same. No. But on Sunday, something historic happened. Tulsa's first elected black mayor reversed course and announced a $105 million reparations plan. He did it in the same place President Biden stood 4 years ago and called it what it was, a massacre. In the audience were Mother Viola Fletcher, who's 111 years old, and Mother Leslie Banningfield Randall, who's 110. Two of the last known living survivors. There were tears, there was black joy, and for a moment I imagined this must be what freedom felt like after the Civil War. The lesson: never give up on what others tell you is impossible. This didn't happen by accident. It happened because we never gave up. We got organized. We pushed through our personal as a community and elected someone who made a promise to Greenwood and kept it. Mayor Nichols, you are the embodiment of what it means to break our own chains. You brought justice home and etched your name into American history forever. And we say thank you for that.
So here's some hopeful news. Shortly after the U.S. Senate unanimously passed a bill that would designate Black Wall Street, the Greenwood District, as a national monument, Tulsa's first black mayor, Monroe Nichols, just announced a plan for reparations for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre during its first observance day, June 1st. And if you don't know what the Tulsa Race Massacre is, during that time, there was a flourishing black neighborhood despite of segregation, and a black teen was arrested for allegedly assaulting a white woman in an elevator. And the exact details are unknown, but apparently he tripped and grabbed her, and then a witness changed his story and said it was assault. And then the media, of course, wrote inflammatory articles, which led to a confrontation between a group of black and white Tulsans. And then on June 1st, Greenwood was looted. 35 blocks were burned by white rioters. The National Guard was called in. They intervened, and they interned all of the black residents into camps or whatever buildings. And then during the time as well, civil officials turned random white men, including those who were part of the violence, into deputies. They gave them firearms and ammunition. And it's estimated that up to 300 people were killed during this time. And none of these these criminal acts were ever prosecuted or punished. But in the present, the Greenwood Trust that was created will be used to collect around $105 million to address racial disparities impacting massacre survivors, descendants, and the majority Black residents in North Tulsa. The money will be collected through a private charitable trust that will direct $24 million to a housing fund, $60 million to a cultural preservation fund, and $21 million towards a legacy fund, which will support the acquisition of land and scholarships for survivors and descendants. Additionally, the mayor is making over 45,000 documents related to the massacre public. So it's a step in the right direction.
All right, so we have some breaking news. $105 million reparations package proposed for the survivors, yes, survivors and descendants of the Tulsa Race Massacre is more than just money. It's very much so long overdue. The acknowledgement of one of the worst acts of racial violence in the United States of America right here on this soil. Now, in 1921, a prosperous Black community known as Black Wall Street was burned to the ground. Hundreds were killed, thousands were left homeless, and for decades, their pain was met with nothing but silence. Now, this proposal matters for a lot of reasons. One, it says, yes, we see you, we believe in you, and we're willing to take responsibility. Atonement isn't just about saying sorry, it's about making things right through investment, through repair, and more importantly, truth-telling. While no dollar amount can actually restore what was lost, this is definitely a step towards the right direction in justice and a model for how America itself can begin to heal from its legacy of racial violence. So I do want to acknowledge a couple of platforms that I follow that has made sure to keep the main thing the main thing. Number one is Justice for Greenwood Foundation. And founder of Justice for Greenwood Foundation, attorney Demario Solomon Simmons. So shout out to the mayor and everybody else in the city that's out there fighting for justice. Peace.
So, good afternoon. So, this is about the new mayor of Tulsa, who is now has a $105 million initiative for the reparations for the Tulsa communities and families that were destroyed by YT people, racist YT people. So, my question is, from all the atrocities throughout history, you know, every other race has gotten reparations from the United States with no fuss, no fight, no nothing. Why is it that when Black people who have been going through hell in this country for hundreds of years, why is it so hard for you guys to give reparations for your ancestors, for the cruelty and dehumanization that still goes on today? I do believe that if reparations were paid, racism would probably go away, because y'all don't want to pay for nothing else. But again, y'all love racist people, love having their foot on Black people's necks. And I think that's also because they know who we are. They know that if the playing field was even, guess who would not be on the bottom? And I think that if reparations get paid, they're scared that guess who's going to be on the bottom? Guess who's going to be the minority with no power anymore? It's fear that, what is it, the great white replacement plan? But guess what? We ain't got to replace y'all, because it's just like karma. It's just like so much dirt that has been done. You guys gonna take out yourselves, or the sun is gonna take you out. One or the other, the melanoma, the cancer, all that just you will. And actually, white people are the minority worldwide. I had a white friend who did not know that. She thought white people were the majority worldwide. See, that is the miseducation of everybody in the United States. Everybody. But anyways, YT people, why is it you don't have a problem with paying other races, nationalities? You don't have a problem paying reparations for their inhumane treatment, cruelty, all. But when it comes to us, it's a problem. Why is that?
So the mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma wants to give out over $100 million in reparations to who? No one alive was in Tulsa during the massacre. No one alive. No. Not either side. No matter what happened. So where would Tulsa, Oklahoma get $100 million from? The lack of financial literacy of the good people of Tulsa, Oklahoma is not lost upon me. Are you serious? Reparations? $100 million. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Another example of professional victimhood. It's a disease, y'all. I'm trying to tell you.
To the mayor of Tulsa, I don't have any qualms against you wanting reparations for the people of Tulsa, for the African Americans. I've seen Greenwood. I've been down there. It's a beautiful place. I mean, it is built up pretty nicely. There are Black-owned businesses. I mean, it's a nice place. And also, I know the race riots really well. I've been to the hotel where the gentleman was alleged to have done what he did, and I don't believe he was guilty at all when that race riot started. I know about the cemetery and the bones that were found. The whole situation's terrible. All that being said, I was hoping when you were sworn in that you would be hyper-focused on the homeless in downtown Tulsa. I've seen in 10 years of working down there, well over 100,000 people walking the streets homeless. They're starving to death. They are bone skinny. They are in the elements. They're over 100 degrees in the summer, probably 5 to 6 degrees in the winter. They get one meal a day. Some of them are using METH just to stave off the hunger pains. For the life of me, I can't understand why you're not super focused on these homeless human beings. So please help us all understand what you're doing for the homeless people right now that are currently they're starving. So if you want a second term in office, I would suggest while you're working on the whole reparations thing that you also pay attention to the people that are needing dire help. Thanks.
After 104 years, after a brutal attack by bigots, sponsored and led by the local government and police, after the destruction of homes, of businesses, of churches, of schools, after land theft, after trying to bury that this massacre even happened, after court case after court case after court case, after appeal after appeal, after denial after denial, to the point where current government, certain leaders in that government anyway, deny that this even happened. The first Black mayor of Tulsa announced that the city is opening up a $105 million trust for Tulsa race massacre reparations. This money will be private money raised over the next year to address the literal injustices that happened to Tulsans from May 31st of 1921 to June 1st of 1921. Here's what that trust will be comprised of, where the money will go, and how it will help. And for anyone who's ready to jump on and say, well, no one's alive from that time, so why does it matter? First of all, it does. Reparations matters, especially when we talk about the calculable cost of the initial destruction, as well as all the money that was raised by businesses and organizations that took these Black people's land. This is also a reminder that Viola Fletcher and Leslie Bennefield Randall are still here. They are direct victims of this massacre. Shout out to Mayor Nichols, Tulsa's first Black mayor, and every organizer and activist and official who got this done.
Tulsa mayor just announced a $105 million reparations plan for Greenwood. $105 million. Not only that, but he just released tens of thousands of documents related to the Tulsa Race Massacre and history in that area that had not been released by the city. I just spent the last 2 days at Legacy Fest covering it for the Black Wall Street Times, and every time I come to Tulsa, I get chills. I grew up in Atlanta, but I was actually born in Texas, and I didn't move to Atlanta until I was 10, and then I went to Oklahoma when I was 18 for college, and I've never felt at home the way you sense a community that feels at home in Tulsa. The raw pride and emotion and genuine connection people have to this community is something I've never been able to experience myself. I'm going to be dropping some more footage over the next couple days, lots of footage from Legacy Fest and the experiences of this weekend. But if there's one thing that I can say, it's that if the entire country could come together for each other the way Greenwood and the community in Black Wall Street comes together, we'd be unstoppable. And I'm just appreciative that I was able to be a part of the experience and the history. So thank you, Black Wall Street Times, and thank you, Justice for Greenwood. Let's keep going. Dream big, act bigger.
And I am going to ask this: why is it that each time they talk about reparations for Black people, that is when all these people remember that there are some kids dying of hunger, and as you are preparing to probably put our reparations into consideration and all that, also remember that our other people need to, I have never ever seen people like this before. It is okay to pay other people reparations, right? It is okay to talk about other people's reparations, but it is not okay to talk about Black people's reparations. It is not okay to think of how to pay Black people their reparations. One thing I have found out about white people is that I don't know if this is obsession or jealousy, because these people deserve this particular thing, right? For everything you all have put them through. And some of them do not also understand the meaning of reparations. Reparations means to fix. It's a French word, to fix, right? And if you think, or if you do not think that there is need to fix what your ancestors did to people that look like me, you are not a good person. Enough of each time they bring up reparations, that is when you remember that there are so many broken plates, or so many broken pots, or so many broken television, a refrigerator that needs to be fixed. Yeah, we know all that needs to be fixed, or whatever you have to say, but reparations I am kind of surprised that at this very moment, Black people are still talking about reparations. By today, Black people shouldn't be talking about reparations. Their reparations should be paid straight up to them. And for the people that are so much concerned about how Black people are going to spend the money, how is that your problem? How is that your problem? It is you owing me, and you are so much concerned about how I am going to spend the money. Is that not BS? Absolutely BS. Pay me my money first. Whatever I want to do with it, it's not your problem. Each time they talk about reparations, they are going to use the money to do drugs, use the money to do this, all those stereotypes and all that. Pay them their money first. Whatever they choose to do with it, it is none of your business. Can you people understand this? That it got nothing to do with you. It's only when they say, if we talk about the Holocaust, nobody will say Pe0ple. But it is only when we talk about reparations, Black people, slavery, and that is when you will wake up to tell Black people how do you want to spend the money. Don't you think that is a waste of time? Like something that happened. Hush. Reparations are something that should be paid ASAP, as soon as possible, because it's been long overdue. I am going to draw the curtain here. Bye for now.